Hello, and welcome to No Grey Suits, the podcast. I'm your host, Anastasia, and this is a place for people who have escaped corporate to do their own thing, where we'll talk marketing, video, social media, business, and chat with other business owners about their journeys. It's a bit random, sometimes super practical, sometimes plain old entertainment. Welcome back to No Grey Suits, the podcast. And today I have the lovely Michal. And Michal runs a business called Space and Grace. And she empowers women, entrepreneurs, to embrace their CEO queen energy, creating more income and impact with less hustle. And who doesn't want that, right? She helps her clients build businesses they love, full of freedom, confidence, and ease. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
My first question is about the CEO Queen energy. What's that all about?
Yeah, fair enough. That is a little odd, but I come out the gate with it because it's so important for us as women entrepreneurs to be really solid in who we are and be really confident. And what I found from my own journey and also from working with my clients is that we get kind of death by 1,000 cuts, right? Like we try something and it doesn't work. We buy a strategy and it doesn't work for us. And there's just, or we have client feedback or a nasty comment online or whatever it is. There's just all these little chinks in our armor, and until we sometimes get to the point where we've just really lost our confidence, we can't make good decisions from that place because we don't really back them. And so what we might do is we'll be like, okay, I'm making this decision, I'm doing this strategy, I'm jumping all in, but I'm not really, because it might not work or it might hurt my feelings or it might really scare me. What I teach my clients to do is to step into that queen energy before they do anything, so that they are feeling really, really solid and really, really strong and decisive, and they back themselves fully. So whatever they're doing, whether they're putting out an email or making a video or whatever, they feel so confident in themselves. And if you can start your day with stepping into your confidence, everything's just going to be so much easier for you.
I can't imagine how much time we all waste every day second guessing ourselves, especially as women. We tend to do it a lot. We bring ourselves down a lot and wonder whether we're doing the right thing and just almost waiting for the backlash. So yeah, that does sound really important especially for business owners, because we've got enough on our plates, right?
Well, that's it. And we have so many decisions we have to make across the board, right? Whether it's work or home or mothering as well, a lot of us. And so there's just always so many decisions. And if we have to second guess or just worry about the decisions that we're making and not back ourselves with full confidence, then we're doing so much more work and we're putting in so much more effort than we actually need to.
That is true. And I think that kind of leads into something that I wanted to chat about as well, which was, everybody brings it up, but it's incredibly important to talk about when it comes to what I do, which is getting people on video. Imposter syndrome. You can't get up and talk about what you do as if you're CEO queen without that confidence. And imposter syndrome, that niggling little voice that just tells you, you're not actually good at this, you can't actually do this. It's what stops a lot of people from doing what they need to do in their business and getting out there and really shining.
Yeah. And the worst part is that's your own brain. Like, that's you telling yourself those crappy stories. What's happening there is we run the majority of our lives with our subconscious programming. And that runs 90% of our day. So we have this part of our brain where we create our vision and we have our goals and we have all these things that we're trying to achieve. But we're constantly pulled back by what we actually believe and what our brain has known to be true so far. And so we're constantly trying to drive this way, but we're going downhill and the trailer's pulling us back. And it's really, really frustrating. And you have to be so aware of it because it's sneaky. It's really, really sneaky. So you have to really work on first of all, get really clear on what you're trying to do. And then I really encourage people to get really clear on why they're trying to do it. Because when those sneaky little voices come up and tell you that you're not good enough and that you don't know enough, that's a good one, right? Because we never feel like we know enough. We never feel like we are enough. then it just means, again, it's kind of back to that confidence, that queen confidence I talk about. Like we just don't really go for it. We're kind of like dipping our toe in, and we're not really
Mm.
owning that space, and we're not really backing ourselves with all the confidence that we need. And then also, I would just say something just popped into my head, like get really clear on whose voice you're listening to. I'm speaking from experience and I won't name any names, but sometimes you have people in your life who they have the best intentions for you, but they don't want you to change. They don't want your business to grow because that means that who you are to them isn't, it changes. And that's a little bit scary. And so, what I do with these people is I look at their life and I'm like, do I want to be living life like they live? And if the answer is no, I'm like, you don't get to, you don't get to come to my party.
It does. And it hits home, right? Because, especially if you are relatively new to business, you are going to have people around you that are used to you being a different version of yourself. There is something I read a while ago that our brains naturally don't like change. It's scary. And that's their brain telling them that they're scared of you changing. So as you say, it can be fine intentions, but their subconscious brain is the one telling them that you changing is scary. So no, you shouldn't be listening to that.
Yeah.
Because then it's almost those little, negative thoughts compounding yours, theirs, then the person behind them.
Yeah. And I mean, you don't have to look far to find evidence that building a business is hard or scary. And so you really have to take the time to work on who you are, who you're being, who you want to be, the direction you want to go in, and the thoughts that are running all of that outdated programming based on previous experiences. You mentioned fear. People are, fearful of change. And that's another thing that's happening. So every time you go to do something like put out your reel or make your video or speak on the stage, that's your brain trying so hard to keep you safe, because if you get up on that stage or if you post that reel, you might get criticized, you might get ridiculed, you might get ostracized, you might get kicked out of the tribe. And if you get kicked out of the tribe, then you die, right? So that's the sort of programming that our brains are running on. And yet here we are envisioning these amazing businesses and these fantastic lives and these incredible opportunities, but we're running on this tiny little outdated programming that, like a crappy old computer.
Yeah, yeah, it's that lizard brain. It's running Windows 98,
Yes, exactly.
And yes, so is that stuff actually possible to reprogram in your brain, or do you just have to sort of push past it and push over it and make yourself do the thing no matter how you're feeling?
A little bit of both, I would say, speaking from experience. So there's things you can do. You can do neuro-linguistic programming, you can do hypnotherapy. I have a freebie where people can click on wherever they're watching this or listening to this, and it takes you through prompts. So it kind of helps you uncover what are those crappy thoughts that are actually running the show right now, and it helps you reframe them. So there's that, right? Kind of seeing it, recognizing it, often being quite shocked by it because you're so busy thinking that you're doing all the things that you should be doing, and yet it's quite surprising to find some of the gunk that's in your brain. So there's that. And then there's this really awkward period, which I would say I'm still in, but I'm nearly out the other side, where I can see what I'm going for, and I'm training my brain to go, yep, this is what I'm doing. And then my brain just throws in the most ridiculous stuff. And because I'm kind of removed from it now, I'm like, whoa, okay, look at you fighting for survival, And so it like stupid stuff, like it'll show me things that will probably never happen, but are absolutely terrifying as a way of kind of bringing me back down. Or it will remind me of a crappy conversation I've had, and to the point where I'm really reliving it and I'm really feeling all the feels, right? And all it's doing is preventing me from thinking about the stuff that's actually gonna grow, help me grow and thrive. So it's really fighting for survival at the moment. What I'm doing now, what I'm learning to do now is when I notice it, sometimes I'll go down a bit of a rabbit hole, but when I notice it, I just go back to my anchor. So I've created this little anchor where, and it can be anything. Like I touch this point here on my hand and I think about what it is, and I have a little mantra, which could be anything, like, "I've got this," or "Money comes to me easily," or whatever you wanna make it up to be, right? It's just something that I've made up basically, and what it does is just having those 3 little things that I can give my brain a little job to do, just to stop that ridiculous whatever it's got going on in there at the moment, and then I can choose to think about what I wanna think about. So, I'm not at the stage where I can say, "Do these things and all that crap's gonna disappear and you're just gonna be amazing for the rest of your life," but I am at least able to go, "Okay, let's separate the story and let's just step back, let's watch it from a little bit of distance, recognize what your brain is actually trying to do in those moments, and choose to think what you wanna think so that you can do what you wanna do."
Yeah, I like that. I think that leans into some of the anxiety stuff, doesn't it? Where they say, if somebody is feeling anxious, something you can see, something you can touch,
Mm.
something you can hear, go through that just to almost circuit break your brain for a sec so that you can actually make those conscious decisions rather than running on unconsciously wherever it wants to go.
Yeah, and it wants you to when it wants you to be safe, even if that's uncomfortable, it's familiar, and like you said earlier, we don't like to change. We're so resistant to change, and so if familiar means sitting in front of Netflix and eating popcorn and thinking about how you'd like to have a better life, if that's what familiar is, then that's what's it's gonna pull you back there again and again.
And you have to consciously make that decision to actually stop doing that.
Yeah, and it's not easy. Like I said, I'm kind of on the other side of it, but it was really hard when I was really trying to up level and I was really trying to upgrade my brain, and there was it was getting a bit I can't even think of the word. It was getting frustrating, but it was also getting really boring. I'm like, "Come on, I'm so ready for this change, and you keep just dragging me back."
Kind of nice to hear when you're not the only one that has to fight your brain occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially if we're entrepreneurs, right? Like, if we're building any sort of business, even if the business has been built before, not by you, but by somebody else, right? Even if you know that this business is possible, you're still fighting all that outdated stuff that you've been raised with, the old thoughts, that outdated programming. So it's really tough, and that's why I always say, like, building a business is more about personal development than business strategy, because you can action anything, right? If you're an action taker, you can do any strategy and you can follow it all the way down and execute it. But you're still gonna feel how you feel now when you've got this amazing result if you're only doing it purely based on business strategies. So I like to work on things like joy and happiness and whatever feeling you want to experience when you have that inevitable success that you're working towards, work on feeling that stuff now and baking that into your day so that you don't end up with, like, let's say you're going for $1,000,000. You don't end up with $1,000,000, but you hate your life. You yeah, you hate what you've created. You don't even like your business anymore, but you've got that dollar amount in your bank account. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of working on who you are being and over what you are doing.
Yeah. And I mean, we see it time and time again, don't we? I mean, yes, we all think that having money is going to solve everything in our lives when we don't have it so much. But you do see it again and again of people that do hit those dollar goals or, they get the success that they wanted, but they're empty and they hate it. And it's not what they actually wanted. Yes, money does give you certain freedom, but it doesn't help you get over your own brain.
Yeah. And I don't know where this saying comes from, but it's always in my brain. Wherever you go, there you are. And I love that because so many times, people are like, I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to change relationships. I'm going to change countries. I'm going to change this and that and that. And then they're still not happy. And it's like, yeah, because it's all in here.
Yeah. You know where I know that saying from?
Where?
Bluey.
Who's Bluey?
TV show for little kids. There's an episode where Chili, the mum, is trying to work out how to be happy, and she has a book, and she goes down to the beach and sits down on the beach. The first line in the book is, "Wherever you go, there you are."
I love that.
And the whole little episode, like whole little 7-minute episode for kids, but I think as grown-ups we can actually get a lot out of that episode as well because there's more to it. But that's where I know that from, and it actually does really resonate.
So is Bluey like, I feel like Bluey might be a blue penguin or something? What is Bluey?
No, Bluey is a blue cattle dog.
Oh, cute.
I know. I know. She has a little sister called Bingo, so we are obsessed.
Yep, I get it. I love that, and I love it when people can weave that stuff into, like, our children's education, right? Because I didn't learn about this stuff until I was struggling with my business. And then I just started hearing more and more messages about it's who you're being, it's your mindset, it's all this stuff, which I totally disregarded at first. I was like, whatever, it's about hard work and it's about pushing and hustling and all the things. So yeah, I've been on a bit of a journey, and that's that's what I do with my clients now too, because I'm not about the hustle anymore.
No. Like you say, the hustle might get you the dollars in the end, but it doesn't get you any kind of actual happiness or fulfillment.
Yeah. And for me, the hustle just led to burnout, and I couldn't build space and grace. That's from a previous burnout and a previous business, and I was just determined not to build space and grace with that same energy. So that's why I had to go, well, what else is available? And yeah, at first I dismissed it, like manifesting and all this stuff. And I'm like, whatever, that sounds like complete nonsense, right? Well, now I'm all about it. I'm like, if I can manifest my success without pushing and hustling and all the blood, sweat, and tears, I'm open to learning about that.
Yeah. 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 It's less about the woo, I'll say in inverted commas. It's more about, is this the easier way to do this? Then yeah, I'll give it a go. Because especially I think once you have kids and a business, it's like I'll do anything to make something easier.
That's right. Sometimes it doesn't feel easy, and that's kind of like I was talking about before, where I was really watching my brain. I was like, "This feels really hard." Like, it feels really hard when you're trying to break through to a new level. Everything that you are and have been is just dragging you back down, and I just had to keep reminding myself of what was on the other side of this difficulty and this learning curve, because it actually felt so hard. I was like, "If I wasn't so damn stubborn, I would probably just go, screw it. I'll just go back to hustle, blood, sweat, and tears," because that worked for me. I made a lot of money with hustle, blood, sweat, and tears.
You also went into burnout.
I couldn't enjoy my money because I was so exhausted. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And there's no point to that. But also, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I mean, obviously I do marketing, I do video, and I help my clients get confident on video. Now, I focus a bit more on the practical stuff about, teaching that muscle memory of, just getting on video and practicing, and here's what to say and here's how to say it. But there's a whole mindset piece behind that, that if you're not naturally comfortable putting yourself and your business out there, if you're not naturally comfortable in front of an audience or in front of a camera, what you're all about the mindset side of things. What can business owners do to actually some of that confidence that you help them build, but what can they do to help that come across, to actually do the things that are really scary in the business, that aren't just the hustle, but that are what they need to do to actually put the business out there into the world when it does seem really, really, really scary.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I love what you're doing because teaching the practical side of it does help take some of the angst out of it, right? When you know where to look, how to set up your camera, what to do, all of those sorts of things, those real practical things. It takes a lot of the thought work out of it, really. It's like, right, I can just boom, 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 boom. But before you hit record, get really clear on why. Like, the why is so important because if you don't have a really solid why, like what you're trying to build and who you're trying to help, then your brain's going to pull you back again and again and again. And just like we talked about at the very beginning, like it's just going to give you all of this bollocks that's not going to be helpful, and it's going to shut you down. Think about your why, get really clear on that. Acknowledge that your brain is going to throw a complete toddler tantrum, like just a complete meltdown, and just go, okay, I know it's coming. I don't know which angle it's going to come out, because sometimes it comes at you from a really sneaky angle. Overwhelm is a really sneaky one because it just feels like you've got too much to do and you don't know where to start and your brain's just whirring. That is just a classic signal that your brain's just in fear. And so anything you can do to bring that fear down. So breathing, just go onto YouTube and look for any sort of breath work exercise. It can be 5 minutes. I am a huge fan of 10 minutes of meditation a day. And I know that there'll be lots of people listening to this who will be like, yeah, whatever, meditation, blah, blah. I know that because I was that person, but you don't need to do it for more than 10 minutes. So I'm a huge fan of not like overdoing things because of like we were talking earlier, I think it was before we started hitting record, but I was like, I opted to do a podcast over doing a video podcast because all that video stuff was just like it was too much and it was shutting me down. So same principle applies to meditation. I'm like, I know that I should probably be meditating for 2 hours a day, but I also know I'm not going to do that. So what's the bare minimum I can do to just clear my brain, just kind of like give it a bit of a shovel out? And I was like, okay, 10 minutes. I can commit to 10 minutes. So anything you can do to just bring your nervous system just into a nice calm state is going to be really important. You can also sing, you could dance it out, you could do some sort of mantra, like anything to just kind of clear out the gunk and get you in a really good space. And what you're doing with those things is you're teaching your body to feel joy as you're doing something that's a little bit difficult. So it kind of takes the sting out of it.
That makes sense. On a practical level, that makes sense to have your brain associate something good with the something scary so that it sort of evens it out a little bit. On the meditation piece, I do find it funny though. I find it very, very hard to meditate, but I do find that a guided meditation can work better for me than non-guided, like other than just me trying it myself. So for some people out there, if you're sitting there and going, nope, meditation doesn't work for me, maybe try and find some guided ones, because I found that worked a lot better for me. I mean, I've got a neurodivergent brain, so my brain's constantly on the go, and it's very hard for me to slow that down. But having something to listen to that's telling me what to do works a lot better than trying to do it myself. So if you are one of the sort of naysayers around the meditation piece and doing exactly what we've done, which is nope, it's not worth it, can't do it, I do find that listening to somebody actually tell me what to do for a few minutes can help there. Yeah. So little tip from me in there as well.
I started with guided meditations as well, and I love them because I can just feel like I don't even know what this piece is right here. I know it's like a third eye chakra, but I don't really know what that means. But it just feels like it's hollowing out when I'm listening to something through my ears and not actively thinking. It just feels like it's clearing. And I can do the same thing. Like I love the sound of cicadas during the summer and love listening to the birds when I'm out walking my dog. And if I can just listen, it just kind of stops my brain from thinking. So there are so many ways. There is basically no excuse. If you have an internet connection, there's no excuse for not figuring out or not following somebody or listening to somebody and figuring out what's going to work with you to just give you a little bit of quiet. Because that's also where your best ideas are going to come from.
That's why our best ideas come in the shower, right? Because we can't be doing anything else.
Yeah.
If only we had somewhere to write it down.
Well.
Oh, we've got something here.
I mean, it's not permanent, but sometimes if I get a really good idea in the shower, I'll just write it in the steam just to remind myself and then I'll just keep trying to remember it. The good thing is like my water tank is not like, it runs out fairly quickly. And so I can't actually take really long, luxurious showers anyway.
I grew up on tank water feeling.
Yeah.
No, you're stuck with the 2-minute showers.
It's not quite 2 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's so important. I never used to value this stuff, honestly, Anastasia. I used to just value hard work and hustle and learning and cramming my brain. I do still do a lot of learning and research and stuff. But the thing that's really changing it for me is that quiet. And I just get better ideas when I'm not feeling frantic. I can actually implement things a lot quicker too. So yeah, watch the space. Maybe interview me in a year and I might just be completely zen. I don't know.
You might be. You never know where I'll be either. I find that hard to believe with me, but hey, you never know. One little thing you said there, and I don't know if this will make it into the actual podcast as well, but when you go for a walk and you're listening to the birds, did you know that listening to birds is actually
No,
there's a Mel Robbins podcast episode, where she talks about it, and I'll never forget it. When your brain hears birds singing or talking, it automatically calms down.
Wow.
It's a thing. It's built into us. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just there.
Amazing.
When we hear birds singing, we automatically calm down. So if you are the type that wakes up angry with an alarm noise and things like that, you wake up automatically pissed off with it and want to hit snooze and things like that, change it to bird song to slowly wake you up,
I love that.
and it'll put you in a better mood.
I love that we have access to all this stuff now, right? Because I've never heard that before, and yet I've experienced it, and I feel like the more that we can kind of listen and learn and research and learn from other people, it's like they give us the words to describe our own experience, and that kind of validates it and makes you feel like, "Oh, I'm doing the right thing, and this is gonna work for me." So, thank you. I will go and check out Mel Robbins' podcast on that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it was a good one. Like I said, it's one of the few that I really, really remember because every time I hear birds, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
But it's a completely natural reaction for our brains to step into a calm space when we hear birds song.
I love it.
And like you say, all of this new research and everything, it also means that we shouldn't be doing things the way they've always been done, which is a big part of my business, of not following the shoulds and the way everything has always been done. Because when you know better, you do better, right? Why should we not follow that in our businesses?
Yeah.
We keep holding back. We keep wanting to do things the way they've always been done, do things the way the corporates have done them, do things the way, the old boys club did it in the finance world anyway. But we know better now, so we should be doing better because we do have access to all of this research. We have access to so much more knowledge about how we can make ourselves work better.
Yeah. We've seen generations of people do things differently, and I think just being aware of what the options are and actively choosing and actively fighting against your brain when it's like, "No, no, no, you should, you should, you should," and just being really aware of what your brain's doing and what your self-sabotages are. Like, for example, it was a number of months ago now, but I'd set aside time to read my novel. So it wasn't work related. I wasn't doing anything work related, but my brain just wasn't coming to the party. It was just like, I'm sitting there with my book, like white knuckling it, going, "I'm going to read this book and I'm going to enjoy it because I said I would." And so, because all my brain was like, "No, go and open your computer. You should be doing something. This is a work day." So, yeah, working against all that outdated conditioning is actually pretty hard, but I'd like to say I'm through the worst of it now, and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as female business owners as well, getting past the shoulds is a big one. And I think, that comes back into everything that we do. And I think the why piece as well. Now, working out your why isn't as easy as it sounds. So is that something that you help people with as well?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, you don't have to figure out, like, what the role of your soul is and why you are on earth at this time. I mean, if you can, good luck. I haven't figured out mine yet, but just working out, like, for example, like, I wanna earn a lot of money because I wanna travel around the world going to animal sanctuaries. I wanna donate a whole bunch of money to these animal sanctuaries, to these people who are keeping these incredible species alive, and my payment for that is that I get to cuddle sloths or cuddle a koala or, pet a wombat or whatever it is. That's why I want money. Like, I don't actually care about material things, but I prefer experiences. Whenever I have to do something really hard, which is every single day because I'm building a business, that is the thing. My Instagram feed is full of sloths, people cuddling sloths, and I'm like, I just take a little look and I'm like, "Yep, I'm doing it for the sloth. Here we go."
You need to come over for a visit at
Oh my
koala.
god.
We've got a place just down the road where you can do it.
And where are you?
Yeah, I'm in
Okay,
Sydney.
because I am
Yeah.
actually going to the Gold Coast next week, but I don't know.
You probably can. Yeah.
Maybe I'm gonna have to look into it because I really wanna cuddle a koala.
Or no, we've got where I am, where we're not too far. We're probably only half an hour away. And in Sydney, that's not far at all. We're probably only half an hour away from Featherdale, where you get to cuddle them, and we have done before. And the koala really liked my husband. My husband was a little scared of the koala. So he's sort of sneaking away like this, and the koala's like, "Oh, I like you."
Oh my gosh. I wanna be stalked by a koala.
Well, in that instance, you weren't allowed to actually, grab the koala or touch the koala in that particular one. They just held it right next to you, but the koala really wanted him, so the koala's going after him, and they're like, "No, you're not actually allowed to," and he's like, "I don't want to grab it."
That's so cute. Maybe they're a little bit like cats, like, they always gravitate towards the people who don't like them.
Yep, but cats do that just because cats are assholes, right?
As much as I love my cat,
Yep, yep, adorable, lovable assholes.
She's just a typical
But
cat.
yeah,
She wants me to feed her and admire her and then leave her alone. Yes. It's
yep,
very
yep,
disappointing.
that's what they do. I've got dogs, not cats, but I've had cats, and yes, that's exactly what they do. But yeah, no, you need to come to Sydney if you want to cuddle a koala.
Alright, I'm on it.
They're not quite as cuddly as they look, though.
Really?
Yeah, they've got claws.
Yeah. They've got
Yeah,
big claws.
yeah, they do.
Okay. I'm up for it.
Yep, okay. Cool. All right. So we touched on it before, but you do have a lead magnet that I'll put a link to in the show notes, which is all about identifying and reframing those limiting beliefs, which I think after our chat today, even I'm going to go have a look at and download that for myself because the more work you can do on that, the more confident you're going to come across in your business. You're going to be able to make better decisions, quicker decisions, because you know your own brain a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I think that's super helpful. It's super helpful with everything in our business, but especially with putting yourself out there, putting, your new offer out or coming up with a new idea in your business or a new service or whatever it might be. And I find that with a lot of business owners, actually putting yourself and putting your business out there is the hardest part. Building the processes is the easier part for your mind, but putting it out there along with that fear that people might hate it or people aren't going to want it. I think if you can get rid of some of that other stuff that's hanging around in the back of your mind can help you clear enough space to actually get that business out there so you can make some of that money and go cuddle some sloths.
Yeah. And just be really compassionate with your brain. It's just trying to keep you safe. It's just trying to keep you alive. And the more you're aware of it, the easier it becomes.
Awesome. I like that.
No. Oh, I don't think so. Just download the lead magnet, the freebie, and all the instructions are in there. I've got prompts. If the prompt doesn't automatically generate a response in your brain, then just move on to the next one. You're not doing it wrong by skipping prompts. I just put a lot of prompts in there because everybody's brains are different. So all you do is you read it out loud and then you write down the unfiltered answer that came out of your brain. Don't filter it and don't think too hard. And if nothing comes, just keep moving down because at least one of those prompts is going to tell you what all that gunk is in the back of your mind. Have some compassion. Like we've all got backstories. We've all got voices from our parents. There's so much that we carry in our brain that we don't even recognize. And this is just a really lovely exercise to try and clear some of it out so that you can move forward with more ease.
And do the things you need to do to actually build that life up.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's been lovely speaking with you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we will chat again.
Definitely. I'll see you in a year and I'll be completely zen.
Let's do it. Take care. Thank you.